I know. I know. You don't have to say it. Even you in the back, you don't have to say it. I'm a couple days late. But irregardless of that, let's see what you guys asked the Phoenix. What's going on, everybody? It's your buddy, it's your pal Spaz Phoenix, the YWC Reality Check, here with your June 2018 edition of Ask the Phoenix. If this is your first time checking out this series, the concept is pretty simple. My name is Spaz Phoenix. You ask me stuff in the comment section below, and your questions will be featured in the next video. Now, I've gone back and forth between, ask me as many questions as you want, and then I narrowed it down to 10, and then I sort of brought it back up again. So I just said, ask me a number of questions within reason as you see it. If it's your first time checking out this channel, check out the annotation up above. There's a couple other playlists up there. There's the Aftermath series, there's the Off the Cuff series, there's my series of reviews for NXT and 205 Live. Thanks for coming along for the ride. Hope to see you in the next Q&A. The next Q&A probably won't be until SummerSlam weekend, and that's another programming note I should say to you guys. This series has evolved over time. It used to be... Why is my phone going off? Like, why is that a thing?
Okay, I found this on...
There we go. Super professionalism right here. Forgot to turn the phone off, and Siri thought I was talking to it. This used to be monthly, and then I went bi-monthly just because it made my life a little bit easier and it let the questions collect a little bit. I think what makes sense going forward, and it's why I cut off Raw, it's why I cut off SmackDown, it's why I cut off the 205 Live, because there's other things coming up. I think what makes sense for the rest of this year is I'm going to tie the Q&As in with the Big 4, now Big 5 pay-per-views. So we did one Royal Rumble weekend, we did one WrestleMania weekend, we're doing this one even though it's a day late as part of Money in the Bank weekend. We'll do one for SummerSlam weekend, we'll do one for Survivor Series weekend, and we'll progress on from there. As you guys know, Survivor Series is obviously the last one of the year because I take December off from this channel, and it's all good. But big shout out, big thank you to the usual suspects. You guys make this series happen because I can't do a Q&A series if I don't have any Q's to A. Now, if I can pull any more cheesy metaphors out of my hat, I'm going to get on with it. James Edward Russell, aka Fear the Spear 1990. Go check him out. Go bug him on Twitter. Tell him I told you to. Long overdue, but I have returned, and here are my questions, and here are my possibilities. We had a Cena Taker match at WrestleMania 34, but it came off like a teaser for a bigger showdown. It's supposed to be the last ride at WrestleMania 35. Cena posted a cryptic tweet about his loss. Maybe we see the long-awaited Dark Side versus Thuganomics at WWE WrestleMania 35. Championship versus career. How would you book it? As much as people didn't like Cena versus Rock because they announced it one year, did it one year, and then did it again the next year, this is one of those ones. I mean, Cena has passed the, oh my god, we don't want to put up with him anymore, because he's hardly ever around anymore. Like, he is in that Rock position to a lesser degree. Taker's the same way. Realistically, I think you have Undertaker make one appearance before WrestleMania next year, and Cena's like, hey, I had an off night, you saw me in the crowd, I was having a couple beers, whatever they want to do. And then they just go from there, do what Shawn Michaels did, do what Triple H did. Yeah, you got one on me, now I'm going to get one on you. Now, as far as it being Thuganomics versus American Badass, Thuganomics, I think people would actually, as cheesy as it was back in the day, I think people would prefer that to, Fruity Pebbles, John Cena. And I think that would be good. I don't know if they're going to do the American Badass thing, because there was a leaked story, and I have to give credit where it's due. I only heard this on What Culture, because I was listening to the What Culture podcast. Check that out. It took me a while to get on to listening to the What Culture podcast, but they're really good. With Kid Rock going into the Hall of Fame last year, apparently the original plan was for Undertaker, the gong hits, he makes his way down the aisle, and halfway down the aisle he was going to open up his, his cloak, his robe, whatever you want to call that jacket that he wears, and it was going to have like an American flag lining, and the Dead Man music was going to kick into a live Kid Rock entrance, and he was going to be American Badass, like pull some sunglasses out of his pocket or whatever. People lost their shit at the possibility, and it was negative, and I didn't get it. I still don't get it, but they lost their shit at the possibility that it was going to be American Badass Undertaker again. And I mean, like, the way John Cena attacked him, they didn't attack, oh my god, you know, he's a monster, I'm going to defeat this mythological legend. He attacked him like a person. He was calling him an old man. He was talking about, you know, posting pictures on his wife's Instagram, etc. If there's any story, and I'm not saying that the American Badass character is particularly good, but if there's any character or any character-driven story that would have made sense for the American Badass version of Undertaker, the more human version of the Undertaker, to come back, it would have been this. Now, the involvement of Kid Rock aside, because I could take or leave that, to be perfectly honest with you, congratulations, he went into the Hall of Fame, Roddy Raw, well deserved, but the Thuganomics thing would go over. The American Badass thing, judging from the reaction of the possibility this year, I don't know how well it'll be received. I wouldn't mind seeing the match again. I know everybody's like, Undertaker needs to retire, but it could be good. They could do it really well. Keep it nice and short like they did this year. And as much as a traditionalist would say Undertaker needs to go out on his back, I wouldn't mind Undertaker's last match being a victory. Big ass long ramble, and that was only the first question. Goldberg versus Roman Reigns. How would you book it for WrestleMania 35? Goldberg said he would love to face Roman Reigns in one last big one. Thoughts, please? It would go over like a fart in church. It really would. You've got two conflicting elements here. You've got the one element of Goldberg, where Goldberg was never really a WWE creation, so as much as they tried to push it when he came back for the video game and whatever, you could tell that WWE wasn't truly invested in Goldberg. And also you've got the smarky mentality of, oh my god, here's this old guy coming back, taking a spot away from the young guys. Now take that and combine it with the fact that zero people give zero fucks about Roman Reigns. I think you're going to get a reaction a lot like what you had. For those of you watching this later on, I'm literally filming this the day after Money in the Bank 2018. You're going to get a reaction like Roman and Jinder got. WWE thought, okay, here's two guys that the fans don't like. We'll put them against each other, and the fans will have to cheer one of them. Well, go back and watch that, see how well that worked. Now, that was a hijacking on Money in the Bank. If you want to see a hijacking of WrestleMania, that would happen there. I don't think you can do that in a way that people are going to care about. What legends would you like to see return for one last run, one more match, etc.? Deserving... And is anyone more deserving of a Hall of Fame ring than Ken Shamrock, Chyna, Owen Hart, Batista? Chyna, Owen Hart for sure. Ken Shamrock, Batista... I wouldn't mind, but they're not on the top of my list of, oh my god, why aren't they in yet? As far as legends coming back for one more run, I gotta say Shawn Michaels. Shawn Michaels said in a recent interview he would only come back to fight 3 guys. One was AJ Styles, one was Johnny Gargano, and I can't remember who the third one is. I want to say somebody like a Daniel Bryan or a Seth Rollins or somebody like that. Because Shawn Michaels has done it for so long that Shawn Michaels knows whether he's good enough to come back for a match or not. It's not like, you know, the great Khali making a reappearance. It's Shawn fucking Michaels at the end of the day, isn't it? With dual-branded pay-per-views in place, do you see it as a much more efficient use of talent on all rosters, NXT, Raw, and SmackDown? Well, dual-branded pay-per-views don't have NXT people on them. They stay on their takeovers, and that, you know, that works for them, because takeover... Again, look back to this weekend. TakeOver Chicago 2 blew Money in the Bank out of the water. But no, not really. You got a 3-hour pay-per-view that's been expanded to a 4-hour pay-per-view. That does not allow for twice as many people to get... actually... I got my notes right here from my preview for Money in the Bank. Because it's a co-branded pay-per-view, and I mean, I included NXT in this as well, but the titles not defended this weekend: Universal, US, Raw Tag, Cruiserweight, NXT North American, and WWE UK. Now, NXT North American obviously would be defended on an NXT show, but the WWE UK Championship is, in all reality, a WWE title, so you could put it on a show. Could you not? I mean, they've got the UK thing coming up soon. I'm 50-50 whether I'm going to review that or not. I don't know. It's going to be all the main eventers from both shows, and everybody else is going to get squat. So, at the same time, I mean, there's the Lesnar situation, right? So there's not always a universal title. So I get, from that perspective alone, I get them wanting to have a world title defended on every pay-per-view, but that means in theory you're going to have a pay-per-view where only the Universal and not the WWE title are defended. So it's kind of a shit show. It's the first step in WWE giving up on the brand split once again, isn't it? Rock versus Triple H, WrestleMania 35. Give me your fantasy booking for it. Did a video on this a couple years ago. James, I think you know this, so tipping my cap to you. You literally don't have to book this match. It's again, Rock could show up and say, you know, Triple H, we're going to fight at Mania. And there's, you know, they've been fighting since like 897, I think. I've said it before, I won't go into it too much, but, you know, from Hunter Hearst Helmsley versus Rocky Maivia, to them fighting over the IC title, to them having some decent ladder matches over the IC title, to The Nation versus DX, to them fighting over the WWE title, to them having matches that were just, let's be real, bigger than the WWE title. It's, you know, they grew together, and that makes their rivalry great. It's something that you can pick up at any point. Not from a wrestling standpoint, but from a sheer, you don't have to do anything with this standpoint. The current version of that is Gargano and Ciampa. Now, they had a great match at TakeOver. Now, if they come out this week on NXT and say, hey, TakeOver Brooklyn 4, they're going to fight again, we will hop on, even if they don't do anything from now until then. Now, imagine that story was like 20 years long. Just come out, say it. Don't even release the news through WWE. Have The Rock's personal publicist put out a news conference saying he's challenging Triple H at WrestleMania, and have WWE look like they're playing catch up when Triple H responds. I think that'd be cool. If they tried to make a current story of it, anything that they slap together would feel exactly that. It would feel slapped together and not something you really, really need. Daniel Bryan versus HBK, go back to the fall of 2013. They had a story building, and the original plan was a teacher versus student scenario like we've all seen before. What are your thoughts? My thoughts are Shawn Michaels is one of, if not the greatest of all time, and Daniel Bryan, with the possible exception of Johnny Gargano, is one of the most over guys WWE has in their ranks. That can't not be a good match. That can't not steal the show. The only way that doesn't steal the show is, as we said, if Shawn Michaels isn't up to the task anymore due to age and injuries and all that sort of thing. But going back to your question from a couple minutes ago, I think if he wasn't up to the task, he would know that and he wouldn't sign on for the match. Anyway, it's not like Sting or Undertaker or Goldberg or like we say, Kevin Nash, who we're going to talk about later, or Great Khali. If he wasn't able to do it 100%, I don't think he'd sign on to do it. I don't know Shawn Michaels. I'm not trying to come off like that. But it is what it is. I mean, look what he did in the casket match with Undertaker years and years and years ago. After he fucked up his back, he still brought himself back up to prominence enough to finish that match. Big ass long MMA question, which basically asks me if I want to see Brock Lesnar versus Ken Shamrock, and the answer is no. I get the connection, but like, how relevant is Ken Shamrock these days? It could be interesting. It could be, you know, different. It could bring a match with a different feel, but I mean, especially if there's a title involved, absolutely fucking not. Thank you for that, James. The Zohan. Rank the following in terms of personal annoyance. Awful gimmick matches that match the venue. Going back to the Chicago street fight last night, I'm going to say they don't bug me that much, really. If all you're going to do is say, okay, we're having a street fight in Chicago, so it's a Chicago street fight, I don't really mind that. I mean, there's gimmick matches that are bad as a whole, no matter where they are, you know, but, you know, the women's division has come a long way since the bra and panty and pudding matches and all that sort of thing. The Punjabi prison is a particularly terrible. The dog kennel from hell was pretty terrible. But none of those are specific to the venue. I mean, you've got also gimmicks that are terrible because they only really work for one person. See a casket match or a buried alive match that really only work for Undertaker and even seemed a little bit weird when Kane did them. Matches like that have drawbacks to them are a lot more bothersome than things that are from the venue, because let's be real, at the end of the day, your event, I'm going to use the takeover example once again. All you're doing is embracing the crowd that's there a little bit by calling it a Chicago street fight, and I think the fact that they named it after the city didn't affect the fantastic fucking match that we saw. Little side note, Kristen Guapo and I are probably going to do another video in the Aftermath series discussing all the fallout from TakeOver Chicago 2 and Money in the Bank 2018. If that doesn't come out this week, it'll probably come out next week, depending on how things go on Raw and SmackDown this week and what the Aftermath actually is. How many fans actually believe Chris Benoit's actions at the end of his life discredit his wrestling career? What is the most a wrestler can get away with before you discredit their work? Whew. I don't know if this answers your question or not. With the Chris Benoit thing, I have always said that what he did at the end of his life, the tragedy with him and his family, etc., which was horrible and shook the and it's not an exaggeration to say it shook the entire wrestling industry for a lot of reasons. It put a big black spot over the pro wrestling. It was a feeding frenzy for the people that didn't like wrestling, because, oh, look at the psychos that you guys are watching on TV. I've always been of the opinion that, you know, it's the basket weaver effect. If you work at a basket factory and you make 10 more baskets a day than everybody else, you are the best worker there. Now, if you go home, beat the shit out of your wife, you are a deplorable human being, but you are still the best worker that basket factory has. It's the same thing here in WWE. You cannot discredit the fact that Benoit was one of the greatest technical wrestlers of all time. If it wasn't for the way his life ended, our direct comparisons would be Chris Benoit, Daniel Bryan. But now, because Chris Benoit doesn't exist, you don't have to like a person. You don't even have to respect a person's existence to acknowledge that they had a great career. Chris Benoit, shoot me for this if you want to, Chris Benoit had a Hall of Fame worthy career. Now, if you could induct, and I've said this a bunch too, if you could induct a person's career into the Hall of Fame without inducting the person, Chris Benoit's career would be in the Hall of Fame. It doesn't discredit it at all, because it's two different portions of a person. Now, that being said, the idea that his living son wants to be a pro wrestler and I don't think WWE will ever touch him is understandable from a business point of view, but incredibly unfair, because basically the effects of what his father did all that time ago are still haunting him now, and other people are helping it haunt him still, which is super, super unfair. How much money would it take for Spaz Phoenix to take a flaming table bump? Now, flaming table bump is a stunt. I would have to have stunt training. I would have to have people on call. I think, realistically, for a flaming table bump, $100 million? $100 million. I'll take a flaming table bump. Should Donald Trump himself have worked the match at WrestleMania 23, would you have him squash Vince McMahon? Would Austin still be the guest referee? Oh, the political implications of this question are awesome. No. Vince has matches at WrestleMania, but you have to at least have a wrestler on the other side of the ring. I mean, the whole Lashley Umaga thing was bizarre and really sort of came out of nowhere. The hair versus hair thing was bizarre, but do I want to see two old millionaires sort of swat at each other while Austin sits there and questions the meaning of his existence? No. Absolutely not. We got what we wanted. Donald Trump got his guest appearance. You know, we've got a WWE Hall of Famer running the United States. How you guys doing down there? But no, an actual match between Vince and Donald Trump is even less appealing than what we got, to be real. How would you book Daniel Bryan in a World Heavyweight Championship match at WrestleMania 35? Does he enter as champion? Does he enter as challenger? Name your top 3 potential opponents. The opponent has to be The Miz. I mean, and I'm not even saying that as a really huge Miz mark. I'm not even trying to come up here and say that Miz is like the best in-ring competitor for him. The story dictates it. That's why we sort of, I mean, me at least, it's why we can kind of forgive any bullshit that Daniel Bryan does right now with somebody like a Big Cass or a Rusev, or, you know, we even tease the AJ Styles stuff. It has to be The Miz, and The Miz has to be champion. For one thing, Miz deserves to be in that main event spot again. Fight me. For another thing, I think Daniel Bryan has to be fucked over by The Miz and get his comeuppance at WrestleMania somehow. Now, how I would do it is you go to the Royal Rumble. You have Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan's a #1 contender for AJ Styles. AJ Styles is still the champion. AJ Styles has kicked the shit out of Shinsuke Nakamura 6 pay-per-views in a row now, I think, if you want to include the Greatest Royal Rumble, which most people don't. Have him hold it to the Rumble. And people might fight me on this too, Styles versus Bryan is the first match of the night. Styles versus Bryan, first match of the night. There is some sort of bullshit where, okay, first of all, I would have had Miz win Money in the Bank instead of Strowman. Strowman does not need Money in the Bank. But you have Daniel Bryan eke out a victory over AJ Styles. You have Daniel Bryan cash in. You have you have The Miz cash in on Daniel Bryan. I'm getting my thoughts all confused. Bryan beats AJ Styles. Miz cashes in on Daniel Bryan, smashes him in the head with the briefcase, takes the briefcase. But because of that, friggin' Daniel Bryan goes to Paige, asks for a spot in the Rumble, goes in, she says, okay, but you've only got the most unenviable spot in the whole match. Now, he's already had a rigorous match with AJ Styles. You put him in #1 at the Rumble. He ekes out a victory at the Royal Rumble. Miz freaks the fuck out. He says, you know, whatever the pay-per-view in the middle is, I think it's Fastlane. Okay, I'm not going to grace you with a WrestleMania spot. I'm going to challenge you at Fastlane, and this is going to be your title shot, and then you can get out of my way, and I can go on to have my spotlight at WrestleMania. Now, there's a bullshit finish at Fastlane. Obviously, Paige comes out and says, no, actually, that was a challenge you made to him. That doesn't count as his Royal Rumble win. The winner of the Royal Rumble gets a main event match at WrestleMania. Daniel Bryan versus Miz at WrestleMania. Daniel Bryan gets his championship, and we get another YesLMania moment for the fans that enjoy that kind of thing. And as a Miz fan, I cry a little more inside. That's how I would do that. Long, prolonged, very out there booking, but that's how I would do it. Here we go. I lost my train of thought once again. Which female wrestlers on the roster could pull off the most entertaining TLC match? Ooh. It's got to be Charlotte and somebody, doesn't it? It really does. I would say Charlotte and Becky Lynch. Existing story. Best friends make better enemies. Becky Lynch is underrated as hell. Charlotte's athletic as fuck. Go with it. People are going to say Naomi, and I'm going to laugh at them a whole fucking lot. Who did you prefer in the mid-2000s, Bobby Lashley or Chris Masters? Chris Masters isn't even a factor. I mean, Bobby Lashley has no character, but Chris Masters is basically Vince saying, look, I found another Ken doll. I know he went off and did some stuff in Global Force, but again, who gives a fuck about Global Force? If Chris Benoit never existed, who would have taken his place at WrestleMania 20? I think it would have just been Shawn Michaels and Triple H straight up again, to be honest. I don't think they would have put somebody else in that spot. Triple H and Shawn Michaels have never shied away from the spotlight, and from the two of them, admittedly, you got really, really awesome matches. And basically, he pushed himself into that match, if I'm not mistaken, didn't he? How would fans react at WrestleMania if a WrestleMania 1 style card was booked today? Would fans accept today that a WrestleMania main event was main evented by an actor or a tag team main event in general? There's only one tag team main event that I can think of in the past little while, and it was Gargano and Ciampa versus the Revival, I think, or the Revival and Authors of Pain. The one at Chicago last year where Ciampa finally turned on Gargano, and that was the main event for a good reason. No. I don't think people would accept a tag team main event, first of all. Second of all, the whole celebrity thing. fans have decided things over the past couple of years, and while I agree with them, I don't think the rules should be set in stone either. Basically, if you come back and you're an older guy, you're bad. If you're a part-timer, you're bad. If you're a celebrity, you're bad, because you're coming in and you're taking my guy's spot. Say I'm a Daniel Bryan fan, right? Let's say I'm a Daniel Bryan fan just because he's the biggest guy ranking up there right now. So the main event is John Cena, WWE champion, defending his title against celebrity challenger Vin Diesel. Fucking, I don't know where I'm pulling this out of. So all of a sudden, Vin Diesel becomes the hella bad guy, because if it wasn't for Vin Diesel, Daniel Bryan would be in that spot. Which is a little delusional, because with or without the celebrity, you don't know whether your guy would have been in that spot. It's a rule that fans have made in their own heads, and it's kind of dumb, but no, I don't think a tag team celebrity match should main event at WrestleMania, in my personal opinion. What is your opinion on a wrestling winning streak? Does it help or hurt a character? Undertaker's WrestleMania streak is more impressive than Asuka and Goldberg's. Do you care more or less about a wrestler if they have a winning streak? Undertaker's is unique. Undertaker's is unique because it wasn't a case of he's never lost, because that would have gotten old. It's a case of, okay, at this one event, he's never lost. It's like Charlotte, you know, winning and losing her title, but she never lost one on pay-per-view, so she had a streak. Asuka and Goldberg's thing just became a joke after a while, because how many on that streak were fucking jobbers? Now, I'll grant you, the coolest thing that I remember about Goldberg's streak, because I didn't really watch WCW, was obviously on Nitro when he became WCW champion over Hulk Hogan. Now, that was a ridiculously huge crowd in Atlanta, I think. Correct me down in the box below. That was huge. And while they were, you know, celebrating him being a dual champion, because he was also the United States champion, they were celebrating the whatever number Hulk Hogan was. I think it was like 150 something ish. My WCW knowledge is really bad. That was cool because he stopped steamrolling jobbers, and he steamrolled one of the biggest names in the industry. Now that's pretty cool. Asuka is in the women's division, and that sounds super sexist for me to say, but the women's division is small. There's only so many people that she can roll over before we would have turned on her. Now, Undertaker, with the streak, it changed WrestleMania into, okay, we know that fill-in-the-blank guy, let's say CM Punk, for example, isn't going to win. So that possibility isn't even in our heads. CM Punk's accomplishment now is that he's the guy that got to fight Undertaker at WrestleMania. It's not about the win, the loss. It's about your place in the card. It's about your place in history. That's a cool little element, because that was one thing where losing a match never really took any shine off of anybody. I mean, fuck, you had guys like Randy Orton and Mark Henry and stuff like that in there. With Asuka, it's different, because, like, as I say, she could plow through the roster in a year, and then what do you do with her other than beat her? Goldberg, like I say, Goldberg got old. Goldberg got really old, and the piss off about the Goldberg thing is how they ended the streak with the fucking cattle prod and everything. I don't know. It's weird. People are upset that Asuka's lost the streak. I don't think she's lost anything, and I actually said it to somebody on Twitter last night. Asuka's streak is kind of like Spider-Man's suit. If you've seen Spider-Man Homecoming, there's a line from Tony Stark that says, if you're nothing without this suit, you shouldn't have it, or you don't deserve it, or anything like that. If you as a fan don't think that Asuka is anything if she's not undefeated, then you are criminally underrating Asuka, and you don't deserve to be her fan. Same can't be said for Goldberg. Goldberg had an undefeated streak, and it was having squash matches to cover up for the fact that he legitimately couldn't wrestle. So it is a case-by-case basis. I think if you're trying to establish a streak for somebody, you sort of book yourself into a corner. Every match is like, okay, do we keep this person undefeated and sacrifice this person, this person, this person, this person? It's messy. It's really, really messy. Which loss was more detrimental to the wrestlers' respective credibility? John Cena and Kevin Federline was a joke. Kurt Angle lost to one of the members of One Direction. I don't even remember that. I'm sorry. Eric Bischoff and Hulk Hogan losing to Jay Leno and Diamond Dallas Page. Now, that's an interesting one, right? Because, I mean, I don't even remember who got the pin in that, but there is a legitimate wrestler, or sorry, there is a legitimate wrestler on both sides of that. So, if you want to look at it, Hulk Hogan and a friend versus Diamond Dallas Page and a friend, and somebody won. I don't think that helps anybody. I think the celebrities on the side are sort of window dressing at that point. Kurt Angle versus Liam Payne, I can't speak to because I don't remember it. John Cena to Kevin Federline was just funny. That was part of the. Wasn't that part of the John Cena and Kevin Owens feud, or am I thinking about the wrong thing? Do you believe Rock versus John Cena's rematch would have been better if it had happened at a different WrestleMania? John Cena versus The Rock would have been better if they had defined the roles more. WWE, with both of their matches, tried to ride the whole, we're not going to establish a good guy, we're not going to establish a bad guy, we're going to sort of put both these guys out there and the fans are going to choose. I mean, new school people, some of them, you know, the females, the kids, and etc., would cheer for John Cena, and some would say rightfully so, and old school heads like me and anybody, you know, my demographic and above would cheer for The Rock, A, because we're happy to see him, and B, because a lot of what he said was true. The thing is with it, right, is, I'm going to make another Marvel comparison, is it's like watching Civil War. Because Tony's got some excellent points, and as much as I hate to admit it, Captain America's got some decent points. With this, you know, you got The Rock coming in and talking about how John Cena is such a puppet and a Fruity Pebble guy and everything that we can't stand about John Cena. And then John Cena on the other side of the coin makes an equally good point with the, yeah, but you fucked off. And I've been holding the place together ever since, so go fuck yourself. There is literally no good guy, no bad guy. They put, as far as telling the truth and as far as having some realism behind they said, they put John Cena and The Rock on equal footing. If The Rock had come back to make a sort of sportsman-like gesture and say, hey, out of everybody here, the best guy here is you, and I want to face you. Sort of like the setup for WrestleMania 18 where you had Hogan and The Rock, where The Rock came out and challenged Hogan. Rock could come back and say, hey, you've held this place together, I've seen what you've done, I got a lot of respect for you, if I'm going to have one more match, it's going to be against you. John Cena, if John Cena at that moment had turned heel, low-blowed The Rock, and said, see you at WrestleMania, we would have a heel, we would have a face, we would have a story. But they didn't. They wavered in the middle on both characters the entire thing, and they did it all. Everything was 50-50. One guy would come out and cut a promo one week, the next guy would cut the promo the next week, and they kept them even, and they kept them neutral. And, I mean, we didn't like it. We didn't like the fact that we got it twice. But at least if there was somebody to cheer and somebody to boo, even if we were going to cheer the bad guy, even if we were going to boo the good guy, there would have been more dynamic to those matches. Do you think, then it goes right into your next question, do you think Rock Cena rematch would have been better if they had reversed the roles? Well, what were their roles? What were their roles? Rock, highly respected guy, definitely Hall of Fame worthy, comes back to WWE to basically give them a main event. John Cena, the guy that's been The Rock since The Rock left and holding the place together, whether we like him or not, deserves a lot of respect. Who do you boo? Who do you cheer? There's nothing there. Look at, I mean, it's a shitty example, but look at Nia Jax Rousey. Nia Jax just got finished this super sad babyface story at WrestleMania, and now she's bullying people around. She's babyface, she's heel, she's babyface, she's heel, week to week. And Ronda Rousey doesn't even fit into the category of face or heel because she's just Ronda Rousey, and it works for her. But who do you cheer, who do you boo in that scenario? Same thing here, and I'm not just saying that because she's related to The Rock. Now compare that to, once again, I go back to Gargano Ciampa. Gargano, best babyface in the company. Ciampa, best male heel they have in the company. It works. Even if you're a fan of Ciampa, even if you go out there and cheer Ciampa, you're cheering what a good bad guy he is. Even if you boo Johnny Gargano because you don't like the pure Snow White babyface shtick that he's been doing, you still get an opposing reaction, and that's what you need. Do you believe the Rock Cena match could have been better if the roles were reversed? I.e., oh, okay. If The Rock had been in the Rumble and if Cena had beaten CM Punk, no. If you were gonna have Cena Punk one more time, because I loved that feud, you should have done it just the two of them at WrestleMania. Again, I'll go back to a talking point that I used to hit on a lot when CM Punk was still in the company. CM Punk versus John Cena was the ultimate feud. CM Punk versus John Cena was the ultimate WWE versus the WWE fans. That match should have happened at WrestleMania. That match should have gotten CM Punk his WrestleMania main event, in my opinion. And you don't do that at the Royal Rumble, because the Royal Rumble was so close to WrestleMania that the fans would have said, okay, why didn't you do this at WrestleMania? Plus, if you put The Rock in the Rumble, another part-timer, as I said before, the fans would freak the fuck out. Why is this guy taking a spot from so-and-so? I was hoping that Kurt Hawkins was going to win the Royal Rumble, and you know how fans are. Bruce Pritchard recently stated that WWE never had plans to put the world title on Booker to fight the heated, realistic storyline between Triple H and he leading up to WrestleMania 19. It was due to Brock Lesnar's title victory occurring the same night and Vince McMahon not wanting two titles to change hands on the same show. Was this the right call to make, or was it an excuse to not put the title on an ex-WCW talent? Now, first of all, the whole idea of, well, we can't have too many title changes on one show is fucking dumb. Was it the right call? They made the right call because Booker T was a challenger that basically came out of nowhere, and they threw together this really sad sob story. The only thing I remember from that is Triple H cutting his amazing promos on Booker T about his past and how he has a criminal past and a criminal record and all that sort of thing. And while he was talking about his criminal past, he was always finishing it off with, you know, somebody like you doesn't deserve to be champion. And I mean, we see it every day now, just with the way the world is. But even back then, you know, despite the fact that the story was clearly, hey, he's a criminal, he shouldn't be champion, all the fans were like, oh, Triple H is racist, Triple H doesn't want to give the title to him because he's black, which is fucking retarded. Made me laugh a whole bunch. Booker T wasn't a believable champion at that point. I mean, at this point, you look back on anything Triple H has done, and Triple H is sort of royalty in the company. But even back then, as such an amazing heel, you might have hated him, but the title belonged to him. The title belonged on him. It was like The Miz with the Intercontinental Championship. It looks like it should be part of his ring gear. Booker T winning would have looked like a fluke, and it would have been bad. So yeah, it was the right call, but not for any of the reasons that you've speculated here, just because he wasn't ready. Would you care as a fan if both world titles change hands on the same card? Absolutely not. If they made sense, then yeah, no, it doesn't matter. It shouldn't be a scorecard at the end of the day. Well, you know, Asuka didn't win the women's title, so Ronda has to win the women's title over here. Like, it shouldn't, you know, the U.S. title, the U.S. champion retains, so the IC title has to lose his title. Same thing with the like, you can't bounce one off the other, especially when they are presumably completely unrelated stories. It's not a mathematical equation that works. Which Triple H victory surprised you more, defeating Sting at WrestleMania 31, defeating Sheamus at WrestleMania 26, or defeating Booker T at WrestleMania 19? I guess him defeating Sting, because I thought, you know, Sting's introduction to the company, his first WrestleMania on a big stage, I thought they would have maybe gone against the fan expectation. The fan expectation was, okay, here's another WCW guy, and they're going to squash him. I really thought that WWE would sort of go against the thing there. Triple H defeating Sheamus at WrestleMania 26. Who the fuck was Sheamus then? And I mean, yes, I get it. Triple H could have put him over, it could have helped him rise up, etc. But like, would it have really been believable at that point? And I just went over what I thought about Booker T at WrestleMania 19. So, Kevin Nash wrestled in WWE throughout 2011, facing Triple H that year at the TLC pay-per-view. Surprisingly, he wasn't used. Wasn't that the sledgehammer ladder match that was just shit? He wasn't used after that, apart from a few Royal Rumble surprise appearances, and then he went into the Hall of Fame in 2016 without any big retirement match. Why do you think Kevin Nash wasn't used at WrestleMania 28, and what would you have done with him? I would have kept him off the card. I like Kevin Nash as a character. I like that his ability to go on Twitter and piss off fans with some truth. Occasionally, I don't like his, oh, I should have beaten all the little guys in WCW shtick, but his ability to piss off the fans is great. For him to come out for stuff like a DX reunion or the Raw 25th anniversary or whatever is always fun. It's always a little bit of good stuff, boot the revival and all that kind of shit. But as a guy in the ring, he was way past done by then. That's one of the situations where I would have been with the fans and said somebody else could have had this shot. I'm not going to say, hey, I'm a fan of The Miz. The Miz should have had that shot, but I will say somebody else could have had that shot. If the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal had been held the following years, who would have won? I don't know. I don't. Don't ask me to remember who exactly was in WWE in 03, 99, and 07. That's just not going to happen. I'm sorry, man. It is long rumored that The Undertaker's WrestleMania 2000 opponent would have been Stone Cold Steve Austin, with Stone Cold Steve Austin going over and breaking the streak. I don't even think that would have been a thing, because I don't think they heavily pushed the streak until WrestleMania 17. Somebody can go back and tell me I'm wrong. That's fine. The streak would have ended in 8 victories. Do you think the Undertaker's career would have ended sooner? I don't think if he lost back then at WrestleMania, I don't think he would have been so inexplicably tied to WrestleMania specifically as he was. I think they would have I think they would have had him wrestle more throughout the year, so you wouldn't have had that Taker wrestling once a year schedule that has allowed him to go so long. I think he might have burned out a little bit quicker, but I don't think, other than the great, fantastic story of the streak, obviously, I don't think it would have had an effect on the length of his career directly. I think it would have affected the length, the portion of his career where he showed up for WrestleMania and then went away again. It would have shortened that, because he'd be done by now. But I don't think as far as his active years where he was an every week, every month guy, I don't think it would have changed that much at all. Do you miss the Slammy Awards? I miss it as a concept. Slammy Awards is always something that you look at it and you're like, it's comical, it's complete bullshit, but there's always the little bit of chance that something could happen. I mean, Shawn Michaels challenging Undertaker to his WrestleMania rematch, etc. But it's gotten goofier and goofier and goofier. I wish, outside of Monday Night Raw, I wish there was a legitimate, let's break kayfabe, sort of like the Oscars type thing. Let's break kayfabe. Let's talk about these real talents that we really have, and do sort of what NXT does at the takeover before WrestleMania. I think if you had a legitimate fan vote, Best Male Wrestler of the Year, Best Female Wrestler of the Year, Best Male Match, Best Female Match, Best Tag Match, Best Pay-Per-View Main Event, Best Pay-Per-View Overall, that kind of thing, and looked at it like the Oscars, not within the story, but from outside the story looking in, I think that version of a Slammy Awards ceremony would be fucking fantastic. I think you would sell that shit out. I think people would buy tickets for that, but I think it would have to be a non-kayfabe, legit, let the fans vote for this type of idea, which they're never going to do. Thoughts on Paul Heyman actively campaigning for Eddie Guerrero not to beat Brock Lesnar at No Way Out 2003. No Way Out 2003 is a fucking fantastic show, and all I remember from that is Goldberg obviously getting involved, because you had to have Lesnar Goldberg at WrestleMania, because that was great. But it's Eddie Guerrero, after he wins, sort of falling into his family and having that actual legitimate, family cry moment, especially with, I believe it's his mother. It's a really, really cool scene, and it's a very, you don't get a lot of legitimate emotion in wrestling other than if somebody's retiring or if somebody's obviously passed away or something like that. But it's one of those awesome moments within wrestling that's also awesome because of what's going on outside wrestling. Eddie Guerrero coming back from his demons and all that stuff, and to have his family there, and it's one of those moments that makes you happy to be a wrestling fan, as well, I should say, because of that, you got Guerrero versus Angle at that year's WrestleMania, but you also got Lesnar Goldberg. But again, I'm. It's funny. The more I think about it, the more there's a domino effect. If Lesnar was still the champion, I don't think we necessarily would have gotten Lesnar versus Goldberg, because that was just an attraction match. But because we had to deal with Lesnar and Goldberg as the attraction match, you did get Eddie Guerrero defending successfully in his match, but you also got that Guerrero-Benoit moment at the end of the night where these two friends that have struggled and clawed their way through WWE and got past the bullshit and got past, you know, being little guys and got past being WCW guys, and there they are side by side, both of them as champions in the biggest company there is. I think if you don't have Guerrero go over Lesnar at No Way Out, you don't get his moment and you don't get that moment. So yeah, Heyman's an idiot in that regard. I mean, we're looking at it in hindsight. I mean, maybe he had something else in mind at the time. I mean, you would have gotten either the year before or the year after, didn't we? And we saw how well that went with the Shooting Star Press, where I guess you could say all of Brock Lesnar landed on all of Brock Lesnar. It was good. Yes, I stole that line from What Culture as well. If the steroid trial had never occurred, would WWE still put the title on Bret Hart in 1992? I think so. I mean, Bret Hart's a championship-worthy guy. I mean, I don't know what else to say about that. If Bret Hart's stroke had not occurred, would Shawn Michaels versus Bret Hart had happened once again in the WWE? If so, when? Which WrestleMania would make it easier? Man. I have to think that it would have. I do have to think that it would have, because WWE, especially the past couple of years, with Savage and Bruno and Warrior and all those types of things, WWE is in the business of building bridges. I think Triple H gets a lot of respect and credit for that. Anything can happen is the cliche. And if Bret Hart was able to wrestle, and if Shawn Michaels was still able to wrestle, there's no way that WWE would have been able to resist the urge to have that one more time. Like, let's close the book on that. And because Bret Hart was screwed, and he said the last part of your question is who would win, Bret Hart would have to win. You would be building all the tension of this one match on the history of the screw job. There is no possible way that they don't give Bret Hart that victory. And I mean, it would be a cool coming home moment for him. It would be a cool vindication moment for him. But at the same time, even as a Canadian, I always cheered Shawn Michaels over Bret Hart. And we've seen in recent years what a dick Bret Hart can be. Yeah, he would have come back. They would have had a match. They would have put him over. And that might have been his send-off. But I can't sit here and say that I would have been particularly excited about it myself. Because, yeah, just because I'm Canadian doesn't mean I cheer for the Canadian guy. Anyways, I have rambled on quite long enough. It's my camera's flashing at me once again, telling me to hurry up. For those of you that participated, specifically Zohan and James Russell, thank you for participating. I hope more of you participate next time. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. I hope you've even made it to the end of this video. If you want your comments to be in, or sorry, your comments and questions to be read in the next Q&A, which is probably going to be around SummerSlam, put them in the comment section down below. Please feel free to share this video if you wish, if you know of any other people that might want to participate, etc. Now, I don't have anything else to say. I thought I had something else to say, but I really didn't. So what I will say is, I've been Spaz, your YWC Reality Check. Subscribe up there, talk down there, start a conversation, keep all these conversations going. Don't be a stranger. I will talk to each and every last one of you later, but for right now, I am tagging out. Bye, guys.